Welcome guide to this video. The story begins with a man who is a dangerous assassin. To kill his target, he is hiding in an old warehouse, sitting on a chair, fully prepared. He sits on that chair all day, looking through the window at his target's house. He was waiting for the right moment. For 5 days, when his target did not appear, he went out on the pretext of getting groceries. After buying the groceries, he called his boss and told him everything. The boss said to finish the job quickly and take his money. Hearing this, he promised that he would do the work as soon as possible. Before returning home, he sat in front of the target's house. He carefully watched the people and guards present there. After observing their daily routine, he returned to his hiding place and again started monitoring the target's house. He set up his gun and started waiting for the target to arrive. At night, he calmly brushed his teeth and went to sleep. The clock rings every 10 minutes, and he wakes up to check the target's house. A little later, he heard some noise and saw that his target had brought a dancing woman with him. He immediately picked up his gun and kept an eye on his target. The target still did not know anything. The woman started dancing in front of him. The assassin thought that as soon as his target sits on the sofa, he will shoot. But just as he fired the shot, the dancing woman suddenly came in front of the target, and the bullet hit her. She died right there. He tried to shoot again, but the guards had closed the window, and he missed his shot. Seeing his mission fail, he immediately put the gun in a sack, cleaned up the entire place, and ran away. Then, he rode an electric scooter and left the area. To confuse the police, he threw some items on the way and then went far away. After some distance, he also abandoned the electric scooter, and now he started walking. While walking, he threw his helmet into the river and quickly went to a grocery store's bathroom. There, he cleaned his face, cut his beard, changed his clothes, and then cleaned the entire bathroom so that no trace would remain. Then he called a taxi and went straight to the airport. Upon reaching the airport, he threw the gun into the trash can and stood in line to buy a plane ticket. While he was standing in line, he saw a police dog staring at him. He panicked and went to the bathroom again to clean himself up. He got back in line and got a visa under a fake identity, Felix Unger. While boarding the plane, he received a call from his boss. His boss scolded him severely, saying, "You ruined the whole job, what did you do?" He was very angry with the assassin. The assassin cut the call, broke the mobile, and boarded the plane. Inside the plane, he saw a strange man, so he got off the plane and bought another ticket, but with a new name this time. Then he saw that the same man was also waiting there, so he postponed his onward journey to the next day. He took a room in a hotel, set up a trap on the door, and sat guard with a knife, ready to kill anyone who entered. But nothing happened all night. No one came. The next day, he boarded a plane and returned to his country, the Dominican Republic. Upon reaching his house, he saw footprints of a man's shoes and a burnt cigarette near the gate. His suspicion was confirmed that someone was definitely here. He immediately picked up his gun and ran towards the house. Inside the house, he saw bloodstains and realized that someone had broken into the house. He called his girlfriend. When she answered the phone, he ran to the hospital. There, his girlfriend was found unconscious in a coma, and her brother was with her. The brother explained that two assassins, a man and a woman, had broken into their house. Their real target was him, but when they couldn't find him, they attacked his girlfriend. She managed to fight off those killers with great difficulty and saved her life, but was still badly injured. When she escaped and hid, she saw that both killers left in a taxi with a green roof. After understanding the whole incident, the assassin decided that he would look after his girlfriend all night. A little later, the girl woke up from her unconsciousness and told him everything. She said that both those assassins were holding and torturing her. They wanted to extract information about him. I endured the pain, but didn't say anything. Seeing his love in this condition, his heart swelled with emotion, and he decided that he would take revenge. That same night, he returned home and took out his hidden box of weapons. The next day, he drove around the city, looking for the taxi that had taken the two assassins. His girlfriend's brother had told him that the taxi roof was green, so he started searching for such a taxi all over the city. Even after a full day of searching, when he couldn't find the taxi, he came up with a new idea. That same night, he went to the taxi company office and held the manager hostage. Then, he logged into their computer to find the taxi driver who had taken the two assassins from his house. As soon as he found the taxi driver's information, he took the file and left. The next day, he was waiting for that taxi driver outside the station. As soon as the driver arrived for work, he started following him and got into his car as a passenger. The poor driver had no idea what was about to happen to him. He was driving a highly dangerous person around the city sitting in the back. When the driver turned around to ask something, he saw the gun in the assassin's hand and got scared. He thought he was a petty thief, so he took out his wallet and gave it to him. But the assassin didn't want his few rupees. He pointed the gun and asked where he dropped those two passengers from that house. The driver needed to save his life, so he used his brain and remembered everything carefully, telling him everything. He said that he picked them up from a private airport and dropped them off at a house. After that, he waited for them outside. When they came back, both looked injured, but he didn't ask anything. He dropped them off again at the same private airport from where he picked them up, and he got all the money. Remembering a little more, the driver also mentioned that when the two came out of the house, the man's leg was very badly injured, but I didn't ask anything, thinking they looked like important people, coming and going from the airport. Sir, please don't kill me. I just dropped them off at the airport. It's not my fault. After this, the assassin said, take me to a deserted place. The driver said, I am ready to tell you anything you want to know. Don't kill me. But suddenly, the assassin killed him and left the spot. After this, the assassin created another new identity, with the help of which he took a plane ticket and went to New Orleans so that he could find those two assassins who had hurt his girlfriend. Upon reaching New Orleans, he rented a bus, went to a secret storage unit, and took out some guns and a new identification card. Then he changed the bus's license plate and went to a cleaning company to work as a cleaner. After registering with that company, he was given some equipment. Taking that equipment from the company, he reached his boss's company and thought that pretending to clean would be perfect for getting inside. When he was standing outside, he found out that a pass was needed to enter, so he waited for the perfect opportunity. When the goods delivery vehicle arrived, an idea struck him. He took out his trash bin and walked towards the door, pretending that the bin was very heavy and he was having a lot of difficulty lifting it. The delivery person thought, how will this man get his pass out? So, to help him, he used his pass at the gate and also helped operate the lift. Once inside, the assassin pretended to be a cleaner, and after some time, the delivery person left. Then he took out his gun and entered his boss's office. There, he saw his boss's secretary in the office. At gunpoint, he made the secretary tie up the boss. He threatened him, saying, tell me about both the assassins as soon as possible, or I will kill you. Out of fear, the boss said, I have nothing to do with all this. I am telling the truth. He explained that the customer who paid the ransom money was angry because the job was not completed. He must have sent those goons who attacked your girlfriend. They wanted to kill you, but since you were not at home, the poor thing got caught. The boss also scolded the assassin, saying, why did you come back to your city? He advised, quickly change your identity and disappear for years so that customer cannot find you. The assassin paid no attention to his advice and picked up a nail gun lying nearby. First, he used the nail gun on the laptop and threatened the boss with his eyes, saying, "If you don't tell me anything, you are next, sir." But the boss was still in some mood. The assassin's threat seemed nonsense to him. Ignoring him, he said, "Get out of here quickly. Did you understand? I have told you as much as I could." Hearing this, the assassin got angry and suddenly shot nails into the boss's chest. Then he took out his phone and said, "Quickly tell me about those two who came to my house. Only then will I call an ambulance, otherwise, you will die like this." Understood, but the matter did not go that far. The poor old man died quickly. He didn't get any time to give information. Disappointed, the assassin thought that he should kill the secretary now too. Why leave unnecessary evidence? But the secretary quickly understood his intention and offered a deal. She said, "I know you want to leave me alive, but hide my body in a place where my family can easily find it so that they can at least claim the life insurance money. I will be gone, but let them get some money." In return, she would reveal the identities of the two assassins. Her only condition was that the life insurance money should go to her children. If he killed her and made the incident look like an accident, the money would be easily claimed. The assassin agreed to this, untied her ropes, and left her for the time being. Then he wrapped the boss's body and put it in his trash bin. After cleaning the office, he followed the secretary. As they were going to her house, the secretary started begging for her life. She said, "I will do whatever you say. Please spare my life." But the assassin paid no attention to her words. When he went to open the garage, the secretary screamed and tried to run away so that someone might hear her and save her, but no one did. The assassin easily opened her garage and drove the car inside. Once inside, the secretary told him about the two assassins and showed him a postcard on which the name of the person who ordered her death was written. After getting the necessary information, he broke the woman's neck and pushed her down the stairs so that people would think her death was an accident and her children would get the insurance money. After this, he went to the storage unit and burned his handler's body. Then he went to a bridge and scattered the remaining ashes into the air. No one suspected him at all. That night, he thoroughly cleaned the bus, threw away the fake license plate, and then returned the bus to the rental company the next day. Then he went straight to Florida to find the two assassins who had tortured his girlfriend. Upon reaching there, he decided that he would first find the male killer, and then it would be the woman's turn. He carefully watched the male killer's house, where some men were playing with a dog. He recognized one of the men because he was limping slightly. He waited outside the house all day for the right moment. In the evening, he saw that they were going to the casino, so he followed them and kept watching them. Then he returned to the killer's house at almost 12 o'clock. At this time, the killer came home alone. As soon as he went inside, the revenge plan began. But the dog suddenly saw him and started barking. He gave the dog something to eat which contained a sedative so that the dog would fall asleep. After the dog fell asleep, he entered the house, and suddenly the killer attacked him. That killer had also anticipated that he would surely come for revenge. There was a fierce fight between the two. Both kept attacking each other, one after the other, but in the end, when the assassin started overpowering the man, the killer took out a gun. But our assassin hid in a room. He shouted from the room, "John, I know your real name. Come on, kill me. Finish all the evidence." John had also seen his face, so he moved towards the room, but the assassin cleverly picked up the gun and shot through the door, after which John died. Hearing the gunshot, the dog woke up and ran to save its master, but the assassin had already left the house and locked the dog in the garage. He lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it towards the house, setting the entire house on fire, causing a huge explosion. After this, he went after the woman named Teresa, who was involved in torturing his girlfriend. Soon, he took a flight with a false identity and reached New York. As soon as he arrived, he rented a car and drove to Teresa's house. He waited outside all day for the right moment. At night, he saw Teresa leave the house and go to an expensive restaurant. She was with a man. As soon as that man left, the assassin went inside. Teresa recognized him and realized that he had come to kill her. She ordered a very expensive drink and asked, "Did you kill your handler?" The assassin just nodded yes. The woman took a drink and started saying, "I did everything on the client's orders. I have no personal feud with you or your girlfriend." She said, "I was against the torture. My intention was clear. I just came to kill you. But when you were not found, my partner tortured your girlfriend." Even after hearing all this, the assassin said, "I won't spare you." After this, Teresa walked with him towards a deserted park so they could decide which one of them would live. While descending the stairs, she fell and held out her hand to him for help, but the assassin did not hold her hand. He immediately shot her. Her body fell straight down the stairs. Teresa could have attacked him at any time. She had a knife hidden in her hand. Anyway, the assassin immediately left the park and took a flight to Chicago so that he could now kill the client who had ordered all this. After doing a little research about that man, he found out that he was very rich, so killing him would be a bit difficult. That's why he started waiting outside that man's house to monitor his activities. When the man drove his car out of the garage, the assassin pretended as if he was a normal man walking on the street and quickly tried to enter the garage when he got a chance. But then he saw that the house door was locked, so he took a photo of the lock and immediately started researching how to open this lock. He ordered a special kind of cloning device to open the lock. Then he went to the bank and transferred all his money to an account in another country for a man named Jefferson. After this, he went to buy a gun from a local dealer. When his cloning device arrived, he booked a gym session on the same floor where the client lived. He stole a worker's pass from a cleaner and made a copy. Later that day, with the help of his fake keycard, he entered the building and soon reached the client's room. The client did not recognize him and asked, "Who are you? How did you get in here?" The assassin thought he was just pretending to be unaware, so the assassin showed him the postcard given by the secretary, which had the name of the person who ordered the hit. Seeing the postcard, the client suddenly remembered that this was the same man who had failed to kill the first target. As soon as he remembered, he said, "I have nothing to do with all this." He said, "When your mission failed, I accepted that a human can make a mistake. But your handler said, 'No, sir, it's the assassin's fault. He should be punished. He failed. Your handler asked me for $1,500 more to get you killed and erase all the evidence.'" This meant that the handler was behind all this because, in reality, he was angry that his man had failed. If he remained alive, the police might find him, and then the handler would also be caught. That's why the handler had made this whole plan to eliminate him. The client again said that he had no hand in sending those two assassins. After listening to his words for some time, the assassin believed him. But before leaving, he warned the client not to tell anyone his identity. The client fearfully answered yes. Then the assassin returned to the Dominican Republic and started taking care of his girlfriend, who was much better now. He left this path of evil and now started living like a normal human being.
Like, share, subscribe this video.